Hi, this is Laurie Mangold, and we are doing month 8. Can you believe we are at month 8 already? This is the block. It's a square in a square in a square. It was my goal to get you to practice that technique one more time. And so we're going to cut the fabrics and show you how to do that. So the first fabric, we're kind of going somewhat from the middle out, is going to be your middle square. And we have to cut it into a 4.5 inch square. And a lot of times when all I have to do is cut one square, I use my square ruler. And my 4.5 line is here, and I have it inside the fabric because I'm going to cut my first two sides first. So there is the first two sides. Now I can line the 4.5 up exactly on the two freshly cut lines. And I do want to be really accurate with this because for the square and a square purposes. I'm going to cut this one, and then I'm going to cut this one. And now I should have a perfect 4.5 inch square. Okay. The next thing I have to cut is I have to cut two squares that measure 3 5/8 out of this piece. Now 3 5/8 is an interesting measurement. I'm going to cut the two pieces first, and then I can use the square ruler again. So if I look at this ruler and I come from here, there's my 3, half would be 4/8. So 5/8 would be the little tick mark that is just on the outside there. But first I have to clean cut an edge. Let's not forget that. So to make sure we're nice and straight. So 3 5/8, I'm going to line those little 1/8 inch hashtags up there. And I've got them right where I want them. And there's my first one. And then I can cut my second one. Same thing. 3 5/8, find that 1/8 mark. Here, here, here. A little bit in there. And I have this. Now that they're 3 5/8 this way, I need to cut them 3 5/8 inch this way. And I can do that. I'm going to do one with this ruler and one with the square ruler. I'm going to clean cut, and when I'm clean cutting, I'm making sure that this line is straight and my 1/8 inch lines are up here, because now we got to keep it square. And then I can flip it over and find my 3 5/8 right there, and I've got it there, there, there. I've got it there, 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 and it's straight here, so I feel pretty comfortable cutting that. Okay, so there's one. Now with this one, I can use my square ruler, and initially if you look, your 3 5/8 is going to be this corner right here, but we need to clean cut an edge so that we can cut that. So I'm going to do that, and then if I flip this over and bring my 3 5/8 in, I got to come down. What's nice about the 3 5/8 inch on a square ruler is that you have the little caret here, so they put on the edge. So I'm straight there, and all I have to do is cut that, and now that one is 3 5/8. Now, this is going to be used for our square in a square, so we have to cut it on one diagonal. And so that means I'm going to put my ruler right on the top point and slide the ruler to the bottom point, making sure they're exactly on the points. And I can cut one. And when I'm doing this, I like to cut each one separately. I don't stack them, because it is important for square in a square that these are actually right in half. If one triangle ends up bigger than the other, your block isn't going to be square after you sew them on. Okay? So now I have 4 triangles. Okay? That's fabric 2. Fabric 3, we're going to cut into 4 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. And so don't make the mistake I made. I cut this the wrong way first. Flip it over, and you're going to cut 2 2.5 inch strips. Don't cut a 4.5, cut 2 2.5 inch strips. There's one, and then we'll cut those down to 4.5. There is 2. Okay, we're going to stack these And I like to put them on a straight line on the mat just as a double check. And I'm going to make sure my 2.5s, this line and this line are lined up, and cut that. And now I'm going to cut 2 4.5s. So these are pretty easy to cut, pretty straight. There's 1, and there is 2. Goodness. Lots of pieces, but the block goes together fairly fast. So there's my rectangles, okay? Now we're going to cut the amethyst, and this is going to be used to make half square triangles. So we need 4 3-inch squares, and again, that's really easy. We're just going to clean cut 2 3-inch strips. There's my first 3. And here is my second 3. And then I can stack them and cut 2 3-inch squares. We haven't done half square triangles in a while, so this is a good refresher block. Clean cut that edge, and now flip it and do 2 3-inch squares. Make sure at this point I'm making sure this line, and this line are lined up, and this one is just slightly off, so I'm going to put that up there like that. Perfect. And then one more, and that will give us our amethyst. And then we'll be down to the light fabric, which has a lot of pieces. Okay, so there's that one. And now we have the light fabric, all right? And if you, in your kits, some of you will get 1 solid piece, some of you will get 2 pieces. We had a stack of pieces that were extra from when we cut, and to put 2 pieces in there, there was more than enough fabric to cut the block. And so some of you got 2 pieces. The first thing, if you got 2 pieces, the first thing you want to cut are the 4 7/8 inch squares, because they're the biggest ones. And then you can get all your smaller pieces out from the rest of the block. So I'm going to go ahead and do that same thing when I cut this. And I'm going to cut my 4 7/8 inch strip off of here. That way I know I've got that big enough. Now let me just quickly talk. In the how-to video, we're going to talk a little bit about what happens when you cut your square bigger, that you're going to cut your triangles to do square and a square. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. If you want to have a little extra room that you can trim down, you would round this up to 3 inch or 4 7/8, 5 inches. You would cut it at 5. So I'm going to do the 4 7/8 because that's what the instructions say.
What direction are you supposed to be cutting?
Actually,
It says 13 going up.
13 going up. Thank you, Michelle. She just saved me from making a huge mistake. Remember, 13 is this way, 11 and a half is this way. And so I need to clean cut this edge. I did that when I made my block and ran out of fabric too. You would thought I would have learned. Okay, so this, I'm kind of at a disadvantage. This ruler is only 4 1/2, and I really need it to be 5, and this ruler isn't quite long enough.
Do you want me to go get you?
Nope, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to line this 5 up and do about half and then slide it down. I am going to cut this one at 5 because I want to show you how you would trim that down. So, perfect. Okay, it might be a little bit off, but not too bad. Okay, so you're going to cut we're going to cut 2 5-inch squares out of here. Then we need a strip that is 2 1/2, and then we need a strip that is 3. I'm going to just clean cut that because I may have a little nick there where I met. And I just want to make sure it's straight. And then I'm going to do a 3-inch and a 2 1/2-inch strip. This over. So, okay, there's a 3-inch, and now we're going to do a 2 1/2, and then we're going to cut this into all the pieces we need. Okay, all right. So the 3-inch, we're gonna cut 4 3-inch squares. The 2.5, we're gonna cut 4 2.5-inch squares. And the 4 7/8, or in this case I did 5, we're gonna cut into 2 5-inch squares. So I'm gonna just real quickly clean cut this edge and show you how to cut this one. And I think you can handle cutting those into squares, so I don't think we need to bore you while I do that. But because I'm cutting this slightly bigger at the 5-inch, I'm lining 5 and 5 up and cut that, and 5 and 5 and cut that. Okay, now and then I'm going to cut these on one diagonal. So at this point, cut this one into 4 2.5s, cut this one into 4 3s, and we're going to cut this on the diagonal, and you will have all of your cutting done and ready to assemble.